not the same. The one goes like this.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. We want to make some sandwiches. Sandwich. Now, we have lettuce here. We have tomatoes. We have onion. We have beef brownie. This is ready to eat. We have cheese sandwich. Then we have the burger buns. This one is from Simple Life. And this one is from Tasty.
There's an Old Testament character named Leah.
So this is the sandwich maker that I'm going to use. This knife, I will use it to slice the bread.
I said it nice, LJ. I said it nice. She had a great personality.
Okay.
Leah had a fruitful
So I just want to burn this.
But not a fruitful one. They start going back and forth. These two sisters that were both married to Jacob. Jacob. You recognize that name? The God of Abraham,
So these are how
Isaac,
many? 12.
Jacob. So this is an
12.
important guy. And they're both married to the
That's
same
12.
man, which is a
6,
recipe
yeah.
for happiness.
12 sandwiches.
And they're both
So this
trying
one
to have
makes-
this babies. And Leah has about 4, and Rachel has
Alright.
none. And Rachel, according to the customs of this day, now this sounds sketchy.
This
here
is
now,
ready to
but she
eat,
gave
but
her
I'm just
maidservant to Jacob so that the
burning
maidservant
it
would
up
conceive
a
for her,
bit.
like as a stand-in, as a surrogate. And so that works. But then Leah can't have any more kids, so she gives her servant to Jacob. She already gave him 4, but he doesn't love her. He doesn't love her. Oh, but I'll give him another one, and he still doesn't love her. And so, okay, I'll give him another one,
Okay.
and he still doesn't love her.
So this is sandwich
Trying to win
cheese.
the love of someone who up until this point in scripture has given no indication that he even loves himself. In fact, the whole
Let
reason
me
he's
use
there
this
in the house is because he was running from
over
himself,
here.
pretending to be his brother.
Happy
So now
cow.
you got Sister Rachel trying to pop out babies like Sister Leah.
Is
and
it
Jacob
still happy
loves
though?
Rachel, but he gets his babies from Leah. And I pulled this verse, just this one from your
Okay.
to show you something that Leah did. And I
So
love
these
this.
are 10.
We've done this before. And how long will
So
we
I'm
do
wondering,
this? When she had about the 5th or 6th
2 sandwiches will not have cheese. So these are how many?
Leah's servants,
These are 10.
Jacob, the second son. This is the second son.
10, 10, 10.
About the 5th or 6th that Leah has given in all. Next verse.
And then
Then Leah said,
I will use some of these sauces.
the women will call
Let
me
me show you.
So she named Asher.
Oh, the ketchup is almost finished. So we have mustard
What are you trying to convince?
and ketchup.
How happy I am.
Great.
I've been researching
And we have butter.
the hard work of happiness. So I watched people take selfies over the last 4 weeks.
The butter is over here.
This moment of the selfie is when it's
So let me move this one
watching the people who don't want to be in
because
the
we need
picture
space.
when they unsmile.
Okay. Now we are going to slice this.
How strong the manipulation was from the picture taken.
Like that.
You unsmile. I start pointing out to Abby. I said, Abby, watch out, put that voice when I smile after this picture. He doesn't want to be in that picture. His wife's making him take that picture. He does not want to take a picture right now. And just as quick as the camera's over, boom. Which makes me win.
Okay.
Then I can go home with you after church. And see how quick you unsmile. Some of y'all cut out the middleman and you don't even smile at all while you're here. So you don't have to change back into Clark did. You never go into
So,
to start with. But I will.
look at that.
I can see how long does it take you? How long does it take you to unsmile?
I love it when I
How long
burn
is
it
that
up a bit.
happiness Leah gonna last?
So I'll just put it on a plate.
Happy I am. What's the next thing she said? Put it back up. The women will call me happy.
I need this one.
What does your
This tongue.
happiness have to do with what
Let's
they
switch this
call you
off.
anyway? You're really gonna put your happiness in somebody else's hands?
Let me taste.
You do that with your phone? You let a complete stranger either make you happy or make you miserable? That's a horrible strategy for happiness. Because now your happiness is only as deep as the sanity of the person whose hands
Okay.
you put it in. And, bonus notes.
Let's
people are
put
crazy.
the other half
What does it take for you? Look, she's having...
of the beef brownie.
Right? For the approval of something that hasn't even truly met.
We got beef brownie.
So are many of us. I can't wait to preach at UVEX this week. I can't wait to talk to my 16-year-old self. Because that's what I'm going to do when I get up here, okay? I'm going to talk to my 16-year-old self and say there is no formula for happiness that starts with if I had.
Okay,
Because it doesn't come
band that up.
because you can be on an island. You can be in a bathroom ready to preach.
So as we band that up, let's butter the bread, the buns.
So you're realizing that my job is my job.
Butter the buns. Butter the buns. Butter the buns.
My joy is my job.
Oh, the butter is here.
I may never write another book, but if I did, that'd be a great title. My
Done
joy
with this.
is my job. And in fact, I kind of want to point at you today and say, your joy, I'm going to make you do it. Look at the person next to you and say, you're going to make me happy.
Whoa, I hope this is gonna be enough. Because the other butter is in the fridge
I promise you,
and no one has time.
you said that to somebody that you live
No,
with.
I'll
they'll
just heat
believe
it up in the microwave.
Because you're happy. You are happy.
Where is the bottom?
Always got to make you happy. It's not their job description to make you happy. And it's not God's either.
Where is the other bottom?
I lost them all in the church. I lost them all. God's so good. Look at it. He said, restore our fortunes, Lord. Like
And
streams
then-
in the Negev. Now look, the Negev is the southern part of the desert. It doesn't get any drier than that. To have a stream in the Negev only happens in the winter rain season. And when the rain comes in the winter season in the Negev, it floods the banks, man. It'll tear up the bridges. It'll tear up the roads. It'll wipe out the livestock. You got to be ready for the rain when it comes. And some of us are praying for things that we haven't built the infrastructure for. And even if God gives it, it will not feel like a gift. It will feel like a burden because your joy is your job. Not an event, not a promotion, not knowledge, not an amount. Your bank account keeps going closer and closer to that level that you thought that you would need to feel secure, and you are still scared.
Oh no!
Because blessedness is not a state of affairs. It is a way of life.
Mustard.
We got some work to do. The
Mustard.
hard work of happiness. And look what it looks like. He said, the Lord can do a miracle and send it like streams in the Negev, which is a completely supernatural phenomenon. That's not an ordinary thing. For the Lord, and we need to pray, Lord, restore joy, but watch
It's like
what the
this.
psalmist instructs us to do.
And then just a bit of ketchup.
And for many years of my life, I wasn't ready to do that because I was addicted to self-pity. Too confusing or too real? That was my addiction. That was my addiction. In fact, one of the most powerful things the Lord ever told me was, you have let your mood become your master.
Okay, let's remove
I
this
read in the Bible about
first.
Pharaoh, and the Lord would say, you have let your feelings become your Pharaoh. Tell you when you And Psalm 126 is a picture, not only of what God is going to do, because I have a feeling that God is in the process of restoring someone's joy, even as I speak. But it won't look like it, because what he said is, those who sow
Next, we'll go in with the lettuce.
Will reap with joy. What's that about?
So stack up your lettuce as much as you want,
but the Bible says
because
to get to that place of happiness that will last.
It's healthy.
Not to get a high. You can get a high. Hey, if we all want to feel happy,
lettuce is healthy.
And nut at Krispy Kreme, because we could have got happy fast. It's called hot now, and it can do it a whole lot quicker than Psalm 126. Yeah, I don't need a Bible verse for that. I just need some sugar. I can get happy real quick. There's a better way to get happy than to come do this. But if you want it to last, where the enemy can't unsmile you 15 seconds after it happened.
So after lettuce, by the way, you can stack up your sandwich with whatever toppings you want. So I have onion here.
That means faith is in charge, not
Onion.
feelings. Faith is in charge, not feelings. I'm sowing with anticipation, even though I'm having a hard time even believing it's possible. I'm getting in this spot. I'm showing up for this task. I was going for a songwrite the other day, and I didn't feel like going. And I start saying out loud, good things happen when I show up. Good things happen when I show up. Say it out loud. Good things happen when I show up. Now say this, nothing good happens when I sleep in.
Next, let's put some tomatoes.
Good things happen when I show up. You keep hiding your talents in the ground.
Wow, we have cheese. Oh my God.
God has joy to give you.
I've forgotten we have so many toppings.
In the parable of the talents in Matthew 25.
Oh Lord. Now,
like a bag of gold,
see this? I'll just put it here. The one with the one will come here. Then I put these ones.
To another he gave 2 talents.
Oh my God, it's hot.
The dude with the 2 talents.
This one's
had
here.
every right to say to the master,
And then this.
our human view. Where's my other
6.
3?
Okay.
But instead of doing that,
Alright.
well, I think it's a cultural lesson that needs to be spoken.
Now.
Jealousy is the enemy of joy.
Let's do the cheese.
I don't need anybody else to tell me I'm blessed. If I have contentment in my heart with God, I am blessed. I love Abby because it's hard to compliment her. Not because she's like insecure, it's the opposite. She's like, oh, I know.
Okay, what have I even done? Let me put full cheeses on this one. And then
I need to rein this in a little bit. It's like, no, I don't want her to need somebody else to tell her what she is. Shout, I know. The psalmist said, then the nations will say, the Lord has done great things for us. And the psalmist said, the Lord has done great things for us. Whether you like my post or not. Whether you like my car or not. Whether you see my value or not. Whether you think I'm worth calling back or not. Whether you like my ministry or not. Whether you think I know God or not. Whether you agree with my decision to pull aside and get my heart right or not. Whether you want to go the next mile with me or not.
Let me put a little butter. So a little butter. A little butter. A little butter. And then we put it there. We press it over here. Look at that sandwich. Sandwich. The way it's loaded. Loaded. See that? So let me just press just a bit because it's very. So as that one is pressing, we move to the next ones. I think the next ones are so we have these festive ones are good because they've already cut it for you. They've already cut. So
producers, a total of like 60 people made that show. It looks like we're just on there yapping. No, it's like a grind and it's a huge team to do a cable news show, which is far different when you're doing something independent.
What is the reality of
all right,
showing them? Let me see. Like, why did
let me just use my hand
Yeah.
and show you. Look at that, peeps. Look at that sandwich. Look at the cheese dripping.
You know, Stephen A. Smith tried to come and say, oh, ratings. It's like, yeah,
My
yeah,
people.
every
My
after
people.
The 2024 election.
All right.
Went
Look at that. Look at how healthy it is. So these are 4. Let it warm up a bit and then I cut for you. You taste. So the first 4 are done.
The ratings have not gotten better. They've actually gotten. So it's
We
not
are back here
So it's not numbered. It wasn't rated.
for the next
And
batch.
When I got the call, we at first thought it was a rumor. We had seen
The next
this,
batch.
story that Friday.
Our butter.
And we didn't know what to do with it. We had already done our show. We had wrapped. I was having my cocktail.
I have to melt the other butter
Called me and said, "Look, all of our producers are freaking out over this pup
in the
story, so you
microwave."
should see it." And it was like a rumor. We were like, nah, we hadn't heard anything. Nobody had called me. Nobody had said, you did something wrong. You're in trouble. You're on probation. I had got nothing. Then I get a text message then early the next morning saying, can you talk at noon? And I was fired immediately. There was no warning. So and I asked, well, what's it? Nothing. They were just like, oh, we just want to make some changes. They never said why. So I've had to live in the rumor mill with everybody else.
You still don't really know.
No.
Do you feel like because you were brought in?
here. Those are mustard. So once it cools down, I will wrap it up. The kids will have this as a snack. So they don't like eating in the morning, but they can eat after school.
They're just talking to the collegiate people, and they're just talking to the people who pay attention to the news. Regular, ordinary people were like, I can't afford my rent. I can't afford food. I cannot afford gas. I can't afford things. This dude may seem like a clown, but to me, he speaks like plain, normal. He sounds normal, and he's entertaining. Look, I might as well be entertained. Neither of these products gonna help me anyway. This dude's funny. He's doing his stupid dance. I don't care if I'm
Chicken sandwiches from Chick-fil-A.
listen.
Yes, yes, it was in Georgia.
I know, but I'll tell you, I think it's more than that. I think that there was just a couple of issues that he spoke to the Democrats weren't speaking to in a real way. Like, you know, it's one thing you can't tout Bidenomics when people can't afford their rent.
Right.
You can't tell me that the economy is good and tell me that, you know, the reason the economy is good is because the stock market is booming. People I'm talking about don't have no stocks. You know, so when you can make people feel like they got more money in their pocket and make people feel safe, that's when you got it. And yo, say what y'all want. During the first Trump administration, when he was just out there with those stimulus checks and those PPP loans and everything else,
That Nancy Pelosi is the one who passed.
but he put his name
Put his name on it.
If Biden didn't want to do that when it was his turn.
Right.
So it's like when stuff like that happens, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Right. No.
And the hood felt that.
Yeah. No,
That
you're
it
absolutely
just did.
And the thing that's so, this is the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. Trump had nothing to do with the stimulus checks. It actually helps him. But when those checks passed and Nancy got the checks for him, he said, guess who's getting the credit for it? Not Nancy. Not the Treasury Secretary whose name is supposed to be on the checks. Me. He understands the theatrics of politics better than any Democrat because he came from where I work. He and I used to get a W-2 from the same company. He worked for NBC. To me, I call him, he is the Puffy of, I've been calling him the Puffy of politics. I would not call that man anything but Puffy. He's the Puffy of politics, both in the sense that he might be a diddler, but also in the sense that he has no actual talent. Puffy is, I would say, way back. My husband and I used to do a show called Video Dumping. We used to actually, our first production together was we used to do a music video show back in the day. Back in the 90s. Y'all remember music videos, Vamos, I remember. So we used to do this reggae music video show, and we used to play this track that had Puffy, Biggie, and this third rapper. And the third rapper was just alright. But Puffy's bars, he was kind of mimicking that rapper. He didn't even know to try to mimic Biggie. He's mimicking this other guy. And we used to play the song because it was Dolly My Baby remix. And so I love that song, Dolly My Baby, you know, because I love the song. So we used to play it sometimes on the show. And I used to be like, that dude thinks he's a rapper, but he's not. What he is he's a good A&R, right? He's good at the theatrics of hip-hop. The videos were very expensive. Everything looked really chic. Everything was really shiny. He was like marketing hip-hop. He's not good at doing and performing hip-hop, but he was a great marketer. That's what Trump is. Trump is a marketer. He doesn't have talent. He's not a good businessman. He went $30 million in the hole. He inherited $317 million, lost it all, and then an additional $600 million. He bankrupted 2 casinos in Atlantic City. Like, you cannot be a good businessman and bankrupt casinos in Atlantic City. His businesses have failed all over the world. They've ripped his name off of, you know, he doesn't even own, I think he owns like 6 buildings in Manhattan, but they're like 60 with his name on it. He just slaps his name on it. He doesn't pay his contractors. He doesn't pay his bills. You know, he's a deadbeat. Like, what are we doing?
That sound like my baby father. Crazy. I'm sorry.
And he also is 5 people's baby father. He's 5 baby. He got 5 kids. If he was black, okay. So the reality is, but what he's great at is just the marketing of it. Sales. He's a pitch man. He's a concierge.
Isn't that what campaigns are?
Should be. Yeah. And Democrats don't. Jasmine Crockett she's both brilliant, a great lawyer, and also great at the marketing, but the party they don't think that that's the most valuable thing. They think that legislators are the most valuable thing, people who can do legislation that nobody cares about.
What would you say to people that are just, we just saw him say, we gonna Iran, right? Iran, right? What would you say to the people that's like, oh, this was gonna happen anyway? You know, because I've been seeing it a lot, right? Like,
Yeah, I saw people say that about
saying
Kamala
like,
when
this
they
was
did it.
gonna happen anyway. It just happened now. You know what I mean? But they were saying that this was inevitable to go around. This was gonna happen.
What I would say to those people is you have to remember that Bibi Netanyahu is essentially prime minister for life in Israel. And he has been prime minister off and on since the 90s. And he has attempted using the exact same arguments to get Bill Clinton to go to war with Iran, to get George W. Bush, who was a super sucker for it. And Bill Clinton is so pro-Israel that when he was free and clear and had survived impeachment, he pardoned a guy called Mark Rich, got himself nearly indicted for doing it. Mark Rich, who a former Israeli prime minister, asked him to pardon. This guy was the world's biggest tax cheat. He was such a big tax cheat. He was on the FBI's most wanted list with Osama bin Laden. He pardoned that guy whose main the main accusation against him is that he traded arms with Iran during the Iran hostage crisis when Iran had taken our hostages. He traded arms with them. That guy. That's how pro-Israel Bill Clinton was. He wouldn't go to war, even though Bibi made the exact same case. They're going to have nuclear weapons any minute. You got to do it. He wouldn't do it. George W. Bush, who, unlike his father, would not hold the Israelis to account for any settlements. They could take whatever land they wanted. They could go in and snatch people's farms, olive fields. He didn't care. He was just so pro. He pretended to be an evangelical. He was a Methodist. But he acted like the super evangelical, totally pro-Israel. He bombed Iraq for no reason. Iraq had nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction, nothing to do with 9/11. He still went to war against them, but wouldn't do Iran. What Bibi wanted was us to do a war against Iran and Iraq at the same time, because Iran's Shiite majority now controls Iraq, and he knew that would happen. He wouldn't do it. Go on to Joe Biden. There's never been a more pro-Israel person in the White House than Joe Biden.
Obama too.
Obama and Bibi couldn't stand each other, so I think he knew he couldn't get Obama to do it.
Obama gave Israeli military the most money that they've ever.
Most money they ever had. He did all the policy, stopped the UN, our UN ambassador from, they would veto any kind of. One time they actually abstained, which actually, weirdly enough, in geopolitical terms, is like a huge earthquake, right? For him to let us abstain when Israel was being condemned by the UN. But yeah, Obama, I know he probably figured he couldn't get him to do it, but he wouldn't do it. And then you get to Trump in the first term. Trump has they've got homages to him in Israel. They love him so much, right? So in his first term, he wouldn't do it because he was surrounded by normal people. Then you get to Joe Biden, who literally has allowed Israel to commit genocide with honesty in full view of the entire world, with the condemnation of the UN on the table, and with Bibi Netanyahu unable to travel to multiple countries because he's a war criminal. Joe Biden was like, he's my friend. He can do what he wants. He literally was letting them annex the West Bank in our face. Joe Biden literally would not stop them from dropping 2,000-pound bombs on hospitals, schools, mosques. He didn't care. He took UNRWA and essentially illegalized the only aid agency that feeds Palestinian kids and let them bomb the food kitchen guys. He was like, you want to bomb Jose Andres and kill a bunch of his people? I'm not going to do anything. During a war on Gaza, multiple American Palestinians were killed. And this was on top of Shuri Abu Aqla. This was an American